So as a follow-up to our most recent podcast, if you listened to it, if you didn't, we talked all about the whole James Gunn DC Studios change-up happening. So now we've got some news of what their plan actually is, what it will start to look like. So let's get into it.
So after a decade plus of being blue-balled, to use your own words, to use your own graphics from the last podcast, which, by the way, if you haven't listened to that yet, the full video version with our lovely faces is somewhere on our YouTube page. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can go check that out. It's probably coming up in the recommendations somewhere. After a decade of being blue-balled, James Gunn has come to the rescue. Or has he?
So he released this video on Twitter, YouTube, both of them, and he was going down the whole list of plans of what was going to come out and what was planned to come out. So the first thing he says is that this DC universe is going to be completely connected across film, television, gaming, and animation. How you manage that logistically, I don't know, but this guy's crazy, so I guess he's going to do it. Film, television, and animation I can kind of get, but games too? I guess he just means having the same actors and have it be roughly in the same universe.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm wondering, because gaming, you could argue it's become more accessible than ever, but it's still an entirely different medium from film or television, right? You're not going to have people who are really into movies all necessarily be avid gamers, right? It's almost like
that makes sense. Yeah,
but I'm anxious to see how he does that. As far as I know, he hasn't announced any actual games as part of the slate, just movies and television. But let's, I guess, see what happens.
Yeah, so one thing he made a point to say was that storytelling is always king, which I like. And I also read filming won't start on any of these projects until the scripts are completed. So right from the start, I like that he's putting the story first and that he's clearly trying to indicate that, hey, I'm very well read up on all of the source material. I'm trying to make it like the most ideal version of the source material in my eyes. He's trying to make it look like he's a fan with us, but as if a fan were in charge of it. So at least he's trying.
Right.
The results remain to be seen.
You mean the same guy that wrote Drax as a fucking comedian?
I think it's important to remember, and this is sort of where I've been going back and forth the past couple of years when it comes to comic accuracy. I'm almost fine with them changing details about these more obscure characters. Not to say Drax is obscure. He obviously had a long history in the comics, but the average moviegoer isn't going to know who Drax is outside of Gunn's version.
I mean, you can say the same thing about Star-Lord, because we have this goofy guy that loves nostalgic music, but when in reality you look at Star-Lord, he's like, oh, this insane cosmic veteran who has a severe issue of mental instability and all this. Yeah. We're like, oh, where's that interesting character?
The thing is, I'm fine with them playing on these characters and making alternate versions.
I agree. I'm not going to deny it.
Treat it like
it's like, yeah.
I'm almost thinking we should be treating it like any individual writer would on any individual arc, right? It's like Tom King's Batman isn't going to be the same as Grant Morrison's, or vice versa, right? You have to look at it through the individual writer's lens. You can't just expect everything to be straight out of the comics.
You can also look at it this way. Zack Snyder was also a comic book fan, and I'm pretty sure he'd read at least a few things. I don't know, maybe just Frank Miller, but he obviously wanted to take the whole universe in a wildly different direction than what people expected, so, But let's just go down the list of things he announced. First thing he says is that Shazam has the possibility to continue in the new DCU because it was already only loosely connected to the previous DCEU. But there's no plan for anything with it that he revealed. He said that he didn't reveal everything. He said, this is what I can show you now. So any projects that are yet to come out, their continuation will probably be contingent upon how well they do, like the Gotham Knights TV show. They were asked about that, and he specifically said no comment.
So wait, is that going on now, or
that's coming on the next CW season? So I guess that's supposed to be early this year.
It's March, whatever it is, when Superman and Lois premieres. That's when Gotham Knights premieres.
Yeah, so just it's having the weirdest possible release schedule. I feel like that's partially due to the pandemic, just pushing back the entire television schedule. But
remember, Flash airs in a week.
Yeah, so speaking of Flash,
Whoa.
the next thing he said was that the Flash movie will be, or will contain, the in-universe reason for why everything resets. So that's a good confirmation.
Which I don't think is unexpected to anybody, right?
And Ezra Miller, his future inclusion still remains to be seen. It's still possible. They still say, hey, he could be in it, maybe. See the film, guys. See what you think. Forgive him, please.
Hey, John, you're going to piss off the world.
Oh, sorry.
I'll comment on that later.
They forgive them.
Guys, I smell the cancel mob.
So, putting that aside, James Gunn explicitly said it's one of the best superhero movies he's ever seen. Which
don't know how
that is putting a ridiculously high bar on this thing that's been in development hell for like close to a decade, right?
I already wanted to see this Flash film. I'm probably gonna see it.
Yeah.
And then we'll see.
Okay,
and then we can do the big video.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I actually do really want that to be good. I really, really want it to be good at this point.
Look, I gotta say at the end of this, I do like the Flash. I don't know about Ezra Miller. That's just me, but who knows? We'll see. Maybe my mind will be changed.
So next, Blue Beetle will be part of the DCU.
Right.
Hell yes.
Probably won't mention anything about a connected universe. I don't think any of the new films will until Green Lantern does something. We'll get to that. And he implied that the next Aquaman will also be part of it because from Jason Momoa's, he did some post, I think it was on Instagram. He said he was like coming out of Warner Brothers. He was all happy after a meeting. So I think they're going to retain him as Aquaman, and whatever's going on, it'll just be part of it.
Okay, so anyway, Superman Legacy was like the supposed start of the DC universe under Gunn's watch. All we really know about it so far is that it's going to be a younger Superman. It's not Henry Cavill.
It's not an origin story.
It seems like it's going to be based off of All-Star Superman, just based on the fact that they keep reposting the same artwork.
Well, that's inspiration for it, as in tonally.
Yeah. Have you actually read that? I feel like you of all people would have, but
I saw the animated adaptation, so I don't know if that's 100%.
I literally bought the comic
let's not go with that
2 weeks ago because I knew this announcement was coming, and I still haven't read it. So
let's just not go with that one unless you want him to die.
Well, again, it's a tonal inspiration in like the main themes of Superman. He said that just because I'm like showing these comics doesn't mean I'm explicitly adapting them one to one. It's just I'm drawing inspiration from, like ideas from.
He did say that it was going to be Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. So,
yeah, but you know what also did that? Man of Steel. Technically.
Yep.
And Smallville.
So, what can you tell me about the Authority? Because all I really got from the sense of, like, I had not heard of the property prior to actually hearing this announcement, but from what I gathered, it's sort of like another, like, sort of Guardians, Suicide Squad-esque anti-heroic team that's just trying to do good, but through unconventional means.
That's about right.
Elaborate on that? I know you read it, John.
Well, I didn't read it, and I don't know a ton about them, but I do remember something very specific. So they came out in the late 90s, 99, I believe, and I used to have a couple issues of Wizard magazine, which would talk about comics and all things related to it. So one of the issues of this Wizard magazine had a ranking of all these superhero teams in terms of like power, like if they were all to like fight each other, who would come out on top. So I think it was Avengers was like number 3, Justice League was number 2, and they put the Authority as number 1 because they're supposed to be like a version of the Justice League, but if they were more
brutal,
unrestrained in their methods. So like the reason it gave for the Authority coming out on top, which was stupid, it said like something along the lines of the Justice League fights for justice or whatever, but the Authority fights to win.
I mean, that's like saying the Justice Lords would beat the Justice League, right? Like
that's like every other universe of the Justice League.
Yeah, so exactly. Like I don't want to specifically compare the Authority to any existing team since, like I said, I don't know too much about them. Like I could say they're Justice Lords without the political context or X-Men without restraint, but here's one thing about them that I also know. So the main, I guess, leaders of the team, or like the 2 stars of it, you have like the Superman knockoff, I think his name is Apollo, and then you have the Batman knockoff, which is Midnighter. And those 2 guys are gay for each other. So when they put that in the movie, I don't want to hear complaining. That's how it is in the comics. And as I always say, stick to the material.
Which you got to imagine, like, that's not going to piss off too much of the fan base. Like,
oh my God, James Gunn and DC went woke. No.
Oh God sakes!
I'm sure you're going to have some uneducated people complaining about the fact that you have any sort of diverse elements, despite it being completely comic accurate. But
People do that now with
let's
literally
cross that bridge when
anything.
we get to that movie coming out and whenever it comes out. So the Brave and the Bold, I'm actually pretty excited about, just because we haven't really seen the Bat Family like well adapted in live action beyond like.
I can't, man. I can't.
Just what you're expecting it to,
Damian?
Or
No, they skipped him, they skipped Jason, they skipped Stephanie Brown, like just straight to Damian because
they'll be in it.
Well, look,
Damian Wayne.
That the fact that Damian is Robin in this implies that the rest of the Bat Family has been well established at this point. It's going to be an older version of,
or they're dead.
I'm assuming that means Nightwing, Red
There's
Hood.
no guarantee they exist though. That's just hopeful, but.
No, he did say that this would introduce the Bat Family, which is more than just Damian Wayne. So I expect you'll see a hint of Nightwing, maybe Tim Drake, Barbara Gordon somewhere. Hopefully not just in the dumpster, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, that. Just the fact that he's announcing Damian Wayne's going to be Robin in live action implies that all those versions came before, right? Like, you know, otherwise it really would lead to Red Hood fans complaining about the whole thing. And look, admittedly, I've always been sort of a old-fashioned, Dick Grayson's my favorite Robin, but it is cool to see him as Nightwing, right? Like, we have not seen that in live action, and I think the fan base has wanted that for a while. Damian, I've always actually really liked as Robin, like the minority fan base.
I was going to say, I didn't mention Dick for a reason. It's because of the old Batman movies. Like, we've already had Dick.
Yeah, technically, and of course the '60s series. If you want to count that.
Let's be honest, you can never top Burt Ward as Dick Grayson, but I think whoever they have as Nightwing is going to have to do a damn good job.
Oh, he's going to have to play his ass off, yeah, because I like Nightwing a lot. He better not mess that up.
Let's see. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
There was a Swamp Thing that I saw. I would be very interested in that.
So
one thing at a time.
Supergirl, I do want to say it's not implied if they're going to have Sasha Calle back as her, who played her in, who is going to play her in The Flash.
It's my theory that she's like the daughter of the Henry Cavill version of Superman and Amy Adams Lois from like a different timeline or whatever.
That would be interesting.
If that theory is true, then she wouldn't come back.
That would be interesting, and also, like, they're saying it's going to be Kara Zor-El, and it's going to be, like, a version of the character who's lived her first 14 years in the remnants of Krypton. Like, so it's going to be a more developed version of the traditional Kara that we know. Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then yeah, it's going to be a pretty drastically different version of Supergirl than what we're seeing in The Flash.
I think it's going to be a Supergirl that didn't have a Superman. I think that she's that, like, Superman didn't exist on that Earth, but I guess we'll see.
Ah.
In The Flash, you mean, or in this solo series?
Yeah, in The Flash.
Or solo movie. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, as far as Swamp Thing goes, there was literally a TV series.
Yeah, what happened to that?
That was pretty well developed.
Good.
They made the first... it was 10 episodes. It was on DC Universe. It was pretty well received by both fans and critics. Literally, no one remembers it.
I do. I just watched it.
I do, too. I thought it was pretty good. But
yeah, and then they just canceled right before the boss fight.
Yeah, no, it's like 3 years later, and
why do they do this?
And they're just deciding to make a movie despite them basically pulling the rug out from this well-received series.
Because they didn't understand that Titans was being unreceived well, and they thought, oh, well, they all are, so let's just cancel Swamp Thing right now.
That's dumb.
Which, I mean, that was also like probably the remnants of them pulling the plug on DC Universe and just expecting a lot of these things to flop.
But they moved Stargirl.
They moved Stargirl, they moved Harley Quinn, they moved Titans, they moved Doom Patrol.
They aired Swamp Thing on the CW for a while.
Did they? Really?
Yeah.
But again, only the 10 episodes.
Yeah, they didn't make new episodes. It was just the existing ones that they put on there. I remember seeing ads for that.
Yeah, so anyway, it's like... I do like the series. I'm wondering... Because it's a pretty... honestly, I think pretty true to the comics adaptation of the character. So I can't imagine them expanding on that really beyond like already going like if they do another origin story, I think it's just going to be sort of boring to see again, right?
Get
like,
Guillermo del Toro to do it.
Adaptation. That would actually be baller. I'd be into that. As far as television goes, that was all the movies he made as part of this initial announcement. As far as television goes, Creature Commandos was the first one. This is the first animated series, and it's the first project that was greenlit by Saffran and Gunn. Gunn apparently wrote every episode, or is in the process of writing every episode. Their characters launched in the 1980s. The premise features Frankenstein's monster teaming up with a werewolf, a vampire, and a Gorgon to fight Nazis in World War II. Loving it so far. Never heard of these guys, but
I can already tell you the tone. Cool. I already know the tone of this whole thing. It's going to
be very Suicide Squad-y, right?
No. It's going to be Howling Commandos with the boys.
That'd actually be pretty fun to see in the DC.
What's Howling Commandos?
The Marvel version of like the supernatural characters.
Oh, I have no idea what that is, but it sounds interesting.
It was a team by Nick Fury, but then it was like the Werewolf by Night, the Dracula, Blade, and all them.
Oh yeah, is that on something Werewolf by Night? I remember reading that.
That's on Disney Plus.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But do you guys watch The Boys? I know Jack does.
So. I watched the entire series.
I'm a little behind. It's been a bit.
Did you guys watch the animated one?
I watched the first couple episodes, but
that's how I feel.
Yeah,
this kind of humor will be. It's an animated series. You can get away with that kind of fucking gore and shit. And this.
So you think it's just going to be bloody gore, but in a fun, like over the top way?
Probably.
Okay, Harley Quinn.
Always down for that. Oh yeah, that's another good example actually.
Isn't it also supposed to have the weasel in it? That thing from like the opening of the Suicide Squad where they said it eats children or whatever.
Oh my god, the actual weasel.
Weasel, one of the characters from Gunn's 2021 film The Suicide Squad, is one of the Commandos along with Rick Flag's father, Rick Flag Sr.
There you go.
Oh?
Which I'm assuming is also going to be voiced by Joel Kinnaman, right?
Maybe.
That would make the most sense.
Speaking of The Suicide Squad connections, Waller live-action series, which, as I predicted, will continue The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker with, I assume, the returning actors from whichever characters they retain.
Boo, better be Viola Davis, goddammit.
Yeah, yep.
Viola, I mean, she's legitimately a really good Amanda Waller. I can't picture any other actress right now sort of nailing that role the same way she has. So it would really suck if they throw her out, you know? I thought they announced a Peacemaker season 2, didn't they?
Well, this is basically that.
Obviously, yeah.
For all purposes, I guess it's basically the sequel series to that, but
I need Dyebeard to have his happy ending.
Anyway, I think Waller's self-explanatory enough. It's going to be like a political drama on her side of things with just following her around. I don't know what we're going to see necessarily, but you've got to imagine like it's going to go in a sort of traditional route with her maintaining control of the Suicide Squad, with her essentially trying to act as a counter for the Justice League if they're going that route, if they want to pretend that they're still in the background somewhere. I don't know where they're going to go with it. It's like there's so many stories they could tell potentially.
So now, what I would probably be most enthused to see. The Lanterns series. Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, Space Cop show, unraveling a mystery that will lead to some linkage towards the greater continuity that they're building. And to me, that's perfect. If you're going to have a major event that connects the DC universe, it ought to be Green Lantern related, because that is the property that is like the most widely universe-spanning thing in DC. Like, they go around literally the entire universe. Superman is like all of Earth. Batman's a city. Like every other main character is just a city or something.
If you really want something that captures the entire DC universe and that's going to be dedicated towards world building, Lanterns makes a lot of sense to like really have at the forefront of this universe.
Yeah, and if there is like an existential threat coming from space, Green Lanterns should be there. Like for instance, when Darkseid, the literal anti-free will guy, is coming to Earth, where's the Lanterns? Where's the Guardians? Aren't they powered by will?
Well,
isn't the anti-life equation an existential threat to them? Hello?
Just gonna say, Jon Stewart was in the original script for Zack Snyder's Justice League. There is test footage out there that, Warner Brothers kept him from using. So, should have been there. Should have made sense.
So, with the inclusion of Jon Stewart and everything else that's up to this point, we are getting in a DC universe that has already been established for years, right?
That's what it sounds like. Like they're trying to basically say none of these are going to be origin stories. A lot of these characters just existed in the existing DC universe.
Good. Finally, I'm
So does
sick.
that mean we already have a league together?
Potentially, right? Like, I guess it really depends on where they go with the whole Superman and Batman stories. But it makes me think that the Justice League exists somewhere in this framework, that they're just sort of in the background. The forefront is really on these individualized stories. I don't know. I feel like just the way Gunn's trying to present this, he's trying to go in the exact opposite direction as the previous guard, and he's just trying to tell his own story and build his own world without any sort of other underlying pressures.
Because there's no way 2 Green Lanterns from Earth wouldn't be aware of the Kryptonian that's currently on their planet.
Right.
Yeah.
So Kryptonians, I guess.
Well,
Eventually.
good. If they set it up as, hey, everything's already going on, let's just get down to it already. You've been waiting to see all this shit. Let's see it. Come on. So if it's that, then, I was saying I wasn't interested, but wait for a trailer, as I always say. Other series, Paradise Lost, which is like a prequel to Wonder Woman thing. I don't know if he said prequel or if that was in the article, but it was kind of pitched as a prequel to the Wonder Woman movie, as in it's something before Diana Prince came to be, and it's about the island of Themyscara and all the politics and how that whole system works with only women on an island, and he said kind of like...
Because Krypton works so well.
Yeah, actually,
that's the first season of that. That's the sad thing.
So if it's Game of Thrones on a paradise island with all females...
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying, that doesn't have to be DC related. I'll watch that.
Well, hey, it would definitely work on HBO.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, they didn't explicitly say it's a prequel. Like, they didn't explicitly say, oh, hey, Wonder Woman's going to come into this eventually, or she's going to be born sometime during the course of this.
Oh, please don't make it like Gotham, where you have Batboy.
Oh my god, that would just bug the crap out of me.
Wonder Girl.
Yeah, actually, it makes sense. Oh, they did Gotham, they did Krypton. Why not do Themyscira?
How much more do we have to learn?
Yeah.
When will you learn your lesson, old man?
I do think the actual myth of the Amazons is interesting enough too that you could have this completely disconnected, Wonder Woman's series without Wonder Woman. But yeah, I mean,
but is it what they should have went with?
Probably not, but I get that they're trying to do their own thing with it and try to tell some of the backstories of these characters without like really hinging the entire franchise on one character.
It's a series. It's on HBO. It's not part of the main film timeline, or like not whatever the present timeline would be. I'm assuming it sounds like something that would be earlier on.
Right, there's a lot less pressure on the whole time. Yeah.
If it's not good, you could just ignore it, and that's always a good thing.
It's all connected, though.
It's not like Marvel, where every single series has dropped some kind of little hint with one character, where if you watch a film, you're like, what? Who's that? Huh? Oh, wait, you gotta watch all these other things first.
We have to assume that it is, especially if he wants to connect the video games to it. We have to expect that it's all going to continue to each other.
More or less.
Well, hopefully what it'll be is, like, a consistent tonality, he means. Like, if you see a character in an animated thing and they go into live action, it'll be the same actor, it'll be the same character, and the games will be... whatever the games exist in, it'll be of the universe created in the television and film. Not necessarily that one has to lead into the other.
Okay, so there was one other series that was announced that I'm actually probably the most excited about. Yeah. Booster Gold.
Booster freaking Gold.
Oh, okay.
Which I guess the fact that he announced the Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle, or that was on Slate before him getting involved. Like
they can team up.
Exactly. Like if you're not familiar with the whole Blue and Gold series, it stars those two characters.
Booster Gold too.
No, that's Jaime. At least
it was always one.
I'm pretty sure it was always Jaime, but I don't know. Ted Cord, I will say
that was the original Blue Beetle. That was
Jaime Reyes is Blue Beetle number 2, and they're totally different characters.
I actually think there was a guy before Ted Cord.
Really? Oh, like maybe in the old school Charleston days, or
yeah.
Blue Beetle and Booster Gold have worked together since 1987.
Yeah, so it was like predating Jaime, so there was some arc with the whole Ted Cord thing, which I think, come to think of it, I do think in the whole New 52 arc, there was some mention of Booster Gold having worked with Ted Cord, or him being upset about the whole death, since, Ted Cord dies very early on in the whole New 52 arc. whatever, that's getting off of a little bit of a tangent. The point is, Booster Gold is this very cool legacy character who's, I think a fan favorite that just hasn't had any sort of live action adaptation.
Smallville.
Yeah, I was just about to say, he has a short guest appearance.
Of course he does.
Everyone was in Smallville.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm anxious to see what they do with it. Love the character. Just, again, if you're not familiar with Booster Gold, guy from the 25th century comes back in time basically just to serve his own ego and become a hero, mostly for financial gain, but also because, he wants to redeem himself. He's sort of a loser who... It's just like a very cool, unique character that, I could say he's unique in a multitude of different ways, but...
He had like one episode of JLU, right?
Yeah, there is a JLU episode that he's like very much front and center in, which...
yeah, it's the one where like they're fighting some giant-ass thing, and he's like, oh man, why can't I get to be part of the main action? But he's like going around saving people, and they're like, no, you had an important role here. And he's like, oh.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So anyway, that'll be cool.
Superhero imposter syndrome. That's how it's described. I can relate to that. So overall, it looks like a strong slate.
Potentially.
I don't really know what to add to that.
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic going into this thing, but it's like we've been burned so many times by DC leadership. I'm just hoping the new guard isn't the same as the old guard.
What you just saw was a clip from our full show, the Utterly Nonsense Podcast. The episode in its entirety can be found on utterlynonsense.com or by checking the links in the description below. Subscribe for more, and as always, thanks for listening.